Good evening. My name is Kwabena. Welcome to today. I was thinking of what I can discuss, and I thought of some of the advantages that you get to have for being an entrepreneur. We hear a lot of the difficulties. We hear a lot of the risk. We hear a lot of the discomfort that business people go through. We hear a lot of the mistakes. We hear a lot of the failures that people who start business go through. But there are some advantages that people who start business get to have as well. And I would want to talk with you some of them in brief. And so one of the things that I think is a very good advantage for people who get into entrepreneurship is the fact that there is virtually no qualification for you to become an entrepreneur, for you to ever think of starting your own business or starting a company. There's not an entrance exam. There's no requirement. You can be a male, you can be a female. You can be rich, you can be poor, you can be black, you can be dark, you can be Ashanti, you can be Ewe, you can be educated, you can be uneducated. Doesn't matter. You can be, whatever that they use to separate people in this life. An entrepreneurship per se is a level ground. You don't have to become anything to become one. You just have to be somebody who believes that he can own a business, and then you go at it. So one of the best things is how you get to enter. Is open to everybody who wants to become an entrepreneur, and for me that's a big that's a very huge advantage. It does not matter where you live. You can live in the village, you can live in the city, you can live in Africa, you can live in anywhere and start to and be an entrepreneur. So it doesn't matter, and it's so good. It is an avenue to express yourself. Most of us, when we started businesses, we were not sure of what our lives could be, so to say. So you just trying to, you had a belief system that you could do something. And I think one of the best ways that you could express that was the fact that you could register a business and fidget with it, so to say. Fidget with the idea. It becomes an avenue for you to express yourself. So that for me is an advantage, where when you are an entrepreneur, so to say, you get the avenue to express that which you think you have some gift to do. And so you learn to be a leader as well. When you start a business, when you become an entrepreneur, you learn to be a leader. You learn to lead yourself. You learn to lead people who get to work with you. You learn to lead. You provide some bit of leadership across board with the establishment of the business, or with establishing the business, with coming up with an idea, with leading employees. Entrepreneurship gives you that kind of privilege, and it offers. You also tend to offer some kind of service to the environment that you live in, to the country that you live in. You contribute something to the country, and for me that is an advantage. It gives you that sense that your life also counts in a way, and the control that you have over your decisions and your choices, your time and your resources, at least at the beginning. You tend to decide where to go at what, and nobody really, so to say, manages you in the strictest sense, and so that is one of the best advantages that you have as an entrepreneur, that you are responsible for your choices and your decisions. You manage your time. You manage, you can say that today I'm working from the house, and you work from the house. Today you can say that I'm going to Sunyang, and I will be there to manage the business. So you really have control over your time. And so when they try to talk to us about just the toughness of it, the risk involved and everything, there is also some good side of entrepreneurship, and part of it is the fact that it's also very fulfilling to see that the idea that you thought, that you script on a paper, is now turning out to be a business that brings revenue, that gives services to society, to people, and you feel like you are making a contribution. you know, and there's not much control, so to say. If I'm employed in another business, it's not bad idea, but then I'm get to report at a certain time and I'm get to close at a certain time. Usually you have to request a lot of things, so to say. If you are the one in charge of the business, those things you tend to a little bit have some leeway there. So you work from anywhere, I said it, and you get to understand the word, how the word operates in terms of finance. A lot of people have no idea how the word operates in terms of revenue, in terms of how money flows. People don't even understand money beyond their salary. When you start a business, you tend to understand a lot of it swiftly. And so I think an advantage. And there is that continuous journey of learning, because it's so much. You get to commit yourself to. Most entrepreneurs, most people who start business are people who are looking for a way to learn something. Maybe you started to make fruit juice, for instance. To make fruit juice. Sorry, the network is. So you get to have this learning, continuous learning journey, so to say. Curious, you information. And there is that content when it comes to entrepreneurs. They are content with the fact that they are, and there is some kind of satisfaction that comes from you trying to build a business. Even if the business is struggling, you still see that you are able to channel your energy towards a particular dream of you building a business, and that brings some bit of satisfaction. It has the capacity to build your confidence. You're able to develop better financial skills. You become critical in thinking, and you become systemic or systematic in thinking. And that's a very good advantage from somebody, for people who are sorry, the network is not good, but I'm trying to talk about some advantages of you being an entrepreneur. And so I have talked, and you become critical in thinking, you become systemic or systematic in thinking. And one of the best things about entrepreneurship is that you don't have to think and worry about being on retirement. Entrepreneurs, even at the 70 years, they're still thinking of starting another business. They're still thinking of coming up with another dream. That's entrepreneurship. So you see they are, and most often that's just about the time that you are trying to understand how things work in the business. So that's one of the best advantages, where you don't have to be pushed into retirement. You can work till you drop, and you can start and own as many businesses as you want. And that's entrepreneurship. There's no limit. You can own 1,000 businesses, 2 businesses, 1 business, and you become a good manager of time. So my name is Kwabena. The network is not good, but I'm trying to talk, or I'm talking about advantages, or some advantages of being an entrepreneur. Usually we hear of all the negatives, and that is also good to hear, so that you know what you're going into. But there are also a lot of good, or a lot of advantages of being an entrepreneur, even at the beginning stage, because it's a kind of training that once you switch to that, it's very difficult to get into the other side, especially when you set out to build a business beyond yourself. And so it's very much addictive. If you go there, you may not want to go back to any other thing. So you don't need, it doesn't have entry points. So you can be first degree or 0 degree, and you can become an entrepreneur. It's on the job training, largely. On the job training. It's open to women, it's open to men, it's open to children, it's open to old men, it's open to people who live in village, people who live in town. That's one of the best things that entrepreneurship have, and that's an advantage of you trying to be one, because you don't need a lot of barriers to just enter. You just can enter, and you just can do what you want in the good side of the law, and it does not matter where you live. That's something about entrepreneurship, or you being an entrepreneur. It's an advantage. It does not matter where you live. You can still build the business no matter where you live, and for me, that's a good thing. And the other thing is that it's an avenue to express yourself. Every woman wants to express themselves. Every woman wants to be needed. Every woman human being wants to be appreciated and wants to feel like they are making contribution. And one of the best ways that people feel that they are making contribution is also when they are entrepreneurial or when they become entrepreneurs. Because whether you sow, whether you have a farm, whatever that your business is in, you feel like you're also making a contribution, and you feel like you're expressing yourself. You feel like it's a craft. It's just as the footballer is playing and is very happy, just as the boxer is playing and is very happy. Same. When you are doing that, you become, if you really enjoy it, and which usually a lot of entrepreneurs enjoy what they do, even if they are broke, they enjoy it so much because you are expressing your gift, you're expressing yourself, you're expressing the things that you care for, and you learn to be a leader quickly. You know, that's one of the advantages of being an entrepreneur. You just are thrust into leadership, and you have to lead yourself. You have to lead the product, the services, the companies, the employees. You just have to do something, and it calls for it. Just pushes you into leadership as well. And so you just have to learn that. And for me, that's an advantage to become a leader. It's an advantage, and it offers services. You feel that you're also making contribution to your country. And you control your choices. There's some bit of freedom. There's some bit of freedom. There's some bit of flexibility. There's some bit of independence in entrepreneurship. Because you don't want to. Most people who are entrepreneurs, if you look at their life strictly, they are recalcitrant. If that is a good word, they are recalcitrant. They don't tend to follow a lot of rules. And that's what entrepreneurship offers them. They get to have freedom to make the decisions, make their choices, and they have to live with the consequences that come with it. So they control their time, their resources, at least at the beginning. They tell you, I want to come to this office at this time, I don't want to come to this office at this time, I will be here at this time, I'll go to the project site at this time, I'm going to the market at this time, I'm going to the farm at this time. And that is a good thing about entrepreneurship. Not many people have control over their own time. Not many people have a say as to how much money comes to them and how they even spend it. And so entrepreneurship tends to give you that kind of independence and that kind of flexibility, and that is why people who exhibit these things turn out to be entrepreneurs. They don't like following a lot of orders, and that's why they become trailblazers, so to say. And that's why they're able to deal with the pressure that comes with entrepreneurship as well. Because if you're rigid, then the pressure can take you out. And so it is an advantage because you are flexible, so you can maneuver to get results, and that is a good thing about entrepreneurship. It's also very fulfilling seeing your ideas come through. Your ideas come through. You see that you sat down the other day, you thought of how to start a transport company, and you start to draft everything, you plan, maybe you talk to a friend to become a partner, and the next minute, 1 year down the line, you see that the company is evolving. Now you can have a website, you can have people depending on your services. It is fulfilling. It is fulfilling because when you were a child, probably you never thought that you could own this particular business. And now you have a business. And now you have people working with you. And for me, that is very gratifying to see that at least you are part of the reason why this thing came into being. And you feel like you created something. And that is a good feeling. And that is a good advantage. Because it is, it's freedom, and you have control as well, and you can work from anywhere. Entrepreneurs tend to work from anywhere. They are not rigid, and they get to understand the world from the point of view of commerce, and how money flows, how money works. Entrepreneurship pushes you into that stage quickly, and so it's an advantage. And it's a good one. And there's that satisfaction that comes from, because your energy is channeled, and it gets focused because you set goals. And you see, this whole process of entrepreneurship, or also builds your confidence, and you need that confidence as well. I think nature is fair, because without the confidence, you cannot withstand the pressure. Without the confidence, you cannot withstand the pressure. And yet that confidence is what entrepreneurship also helps you. And one of the best things is that you also have very good financial skill, money skill, so to say. And there's no predictability that you can make as an entrepreneur. There's no predictability. And so when you have gone through the phases and where the business starts to make sense, nobody can. Unlike if I were on salary, then I can how much I will be worth. You know, nobody can predict how much you'll be worth. Nobody, because that's an advantage of business. Nobody. That businessman may be struggling in the first year, second year, third year of his business, and in the 20th, 10th year, 5th year, his business explodes and he becomes a millionaire. And that is an advantage of an entrepreneur. Nobody can be worth. Nobody can understand what you. And so it's that you become unpredictable. And because you are generating ideas all the time, entrepreneurs generate ideas all the time. That's the mind is always working. Their mind is always generating ideas. And they are visionary. They can see far. They can see far. And because they have that ability to see far, and they have that ability to generate a lot of ideas, and to build for capacity, they express confidence. They assume courage. You see that you cannot. The fact that you met him today and he was at this stage, you have no idea what he can be in the next year or 2 or 3 or 4. And that is a big advantage of being an entrepreneur. Because even if when you are going through tough times, there is no telling when the next 2 years comes, what you can become. Because you're committed to the process and you do a lot, you're pushing a lot. And therefore, your results is really unpredictable. And that is a huge advantage. So if you have a friend who is trying to do business, you have a son who is trying to do business, you have a daughter who is trying to do business, you have no idea what they can become in the next 2, 3, 4 years. They can become a phenomenon, so to say, in the next 2, 3 years. You have no idea. So they are unpredictable. And entrepreneurship. So being an entrepreneur, nobody can place a tag on you. Try to decide how much revenue gets to you, or how much influence that you can get, which network you can build. Is exponential, and that is a big advantage. Your growth is unpredictable. It's exponential if you stay with the process, and you generate a lot of ideas, you generate a lot of network, and they are not lateral, they go everywhere. So there's a lot of that in terms of, there's a lot of benefit in that. And you see, they think systemic and they are very critical in thinking because they are used to solving problems. And people who are very much critical in thinking, people who solve problems are very much critical in thinking. And entrepreneurship is all problem solving, and so that is an advantage, because if you're solving problems in the business, then I'm sure that if they give you another thing, you can be of benefit to solving it. They don't run away from problems. They don't get used to them, so to say, but they are not scared of life. That's entrepreneurs, and they have the ability, the heart to dream and to keep dreaming, and that is an advantage, because not everybody can dream. Not everybody can see the future. Everybody can be that hopeful. And one thing about entrepreneurs is that they are so much hopeful, and that is an advantage. Because some people can be so much hopeless. They don't tend to hope again. And if you're an entrepreneur, one of the characteristics, and one of the advantages is that you are always hoping, dreaming, and there is no retirement, as I said. And whatever you build, you may have the right to bequeath your share from the business to the people that you want to give to. So your sweat is conserved in entrepreneur. You go through a lot of troubles and all that, but if you're able to build a business, you can give it to whoever you want to give it to when you're living here. So the other thing is that there is no limit as to the number of businesses that you can own. There's no limit as to the number of businesses, companies that you can own. No limit. So that is also a very good advantage. Very good advantage of you being an entrepreneur. So my name is Kwabena. Today the network is not good at all, but I've tried to talk about some of the advantages of being an entrepreneur. It's not just always about trouble and pressure and difficulty and failure and mistakes and opposition and antagonism. There are very good sides of it, which also makes life very much fulfilling, and that most humans look for, actually, that you are living beyond, you are living your dream. And most entrepreneurs live their dream. They control their time, they control the life that they want to live, they get to build a skill to build a business, they get to understand how the world operates in terms of finances, and their financial knowledge is usually more than the rest. And nobody can predict your influence, your network, what you can become in the next year, in the next 2 years, in the next 3 years, when you have paid your dues to develop, to build a network, to grow the business. And that is a huge advantage of you being an entrepreneur, that you cannot be predicted. Nobody can predict you. You can be a billionaire, you can be a millionaire, you can be the first family big man, so to say, if you stay with the process. So there are a lot of advantages. You get to control your choices. For instance, when there's pressure, you put in more hours than if you're employed. You go to work 9, you come home 5, 6, 7. But there are certain hours that they expect you to be here. The entrepreneur works double, but he gets to choose which hours he works. So sometimes he can work from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. Sometimes he can work from 9 to, it's that flexible. And sometimes he can say that today I'm not going to the office, or I'm not going to here, I'm going to work from here. And so there's that freedom, there's that liberty to control your time and to control your choices and your money and the things that come to you. And the fact that you also become a leader, you become a leader, you become influential, you're giving jobs to people, you become a role model, so to say, in whatever you do, and you get to live life of learning all the time, because you tend to make a lot of decisions all the time, and so you are always looking for answers, you're always looking for solutions. And for me, that is an advantage, because you get to use your mind, you get to use the brain. And there is also some bit of fulfillment knowing that you're also contributing to the development of your country in whatever services or products that you're helping the country with, and you're giving jobs as well. And it's good. And once you're developing yourself, nobody knows what you can become as an entrepreneur. So it's very fulfilling. And most people, if you are into it just to get the money or trade to get money, that is not what I call entrepreneurship so much. I'm talking of the one who gets to business, who gets to develop a product or service, or sell a product or service with that sense of mission, making a contribution, but making some, they are in between their idea and the benefit to society, and they make financial gains as well out of it. And they do that, a lot of them do that with that flexibility, with that freedom. And so that's why most people say that I would want to own my business someday, because they all see the fact that you are trying to build something from within, with your gift, with your talent. And yes, there are controls. Yes, your creditors can control you. Yes, a lot of things, customers can control you, the market can control you. But the basic human control, like your time and your choices, you tend to have a bit of that. So, and that makes life more enjoyable and more meaningful. And sometimes even in the toughest moment, you can still enjoy the process, because you tend to build the confidence that you can solve issues. And that is, for me, an advantage. It's an advantage. And you as I said, you get to work from wherever you want to work, and you understand the word from the word of commerce. You know how money operates. If you give money to somebody who is doing business, it's different from when you give money to somebody who wants money to spend. So most people work to get money to spend. And so they save to buy a house, to buy a car, to pay school fees. But to the business person, once they get the money, they milk the money, they recycle the money, they become productive with the money before they start to even touch it, anything. And so they always have more ideas than what the money comes in, than how much is coming in. And they understand the world from a different point of view than the one who is just waiting for money to spend. So it gives you a very big advantage. And when somebody sees 10,000 and they are very scared of it, the businessman is not afraid of 10,000. Even if he doesn't have it, he's never afraid. He's never afraid of 1 million. He's never afraid of 100 million. Even if he has not made it, he's not afraid of it. He thinks that he will get there. That's something that's so much fantastic about being an entrepreneur. That you think that the more better you become, the more you can build and accumulate, and so that is a good thing. You're never afraid. When people are afraid of figures, when people are so much enthused about owning some things, your mind is not like that. Your mind is more of the growth of a business, the things that can come out of it. And most business people, the ones who are driven by the vision, are not really much into competition with anybody. They are in competition to make sure that their business works and grows. And so the petty issues of life, among families, among friends, the entrepreneur does not get to waste his life on that level. And that is an advantage. You are able to control and constrain your time. You know where to use your time and what not to use your time. When people become very petty and going for the party and dancing and all that, your mind is not there. Your mind is on the next trouble that you have to solve. The supplier has failed you. The customer has failed you, the employee didn't come. Those are the things that you're always thinking of, and issues come all the time, which means that you get to play life from a very different level than the ones who are just waiting for the holiday to go to the beach to have a party and stuff like that. Once in a while, if you do that, it's okay. But if that is a lifestyle, the entrepreneur does not get to enjoy that kind of lifestyle. And for me, that's not a lifestyle. You want to do something before you leave this earth, and you want to make sure that you solve some issues, you make some contribution. And so if all your life you're just partying and dancing and singing and drumming, that is not meaningful, especially when you are being sunk in debt, in problems, in difficulties as Africans. So the entrepreneur gets to live life from the other side, and it's that much fulfilling, trying to know, knowing that your life that you're living is meaningful and you're making effort, and that is the dream that you had when you're growing up. And entrepreneurship is very much fulfilling. If you know anybody who is doing business and thinking of it as entrepreneurship and building an idea, building a dream, making a contribution, look at them. Their energy is always in constant use. It's always in constant use. So it's a whole different world. If you talk to people who are doing it, you will know that there's nothing like it. It's very enjoyable. Yes, there are problems. Yes, there are many. But it's a whole different world. And there's a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of freedom. And that is what those who have tasted it never go back. And so when you meet that guy who is selling t-shirts in the kiosk and selling them, and he's always busy, concentrated, calculating, looking at his profit, looking at the next deal, that is the enjoyment. The process consumes them. And so they live life from a whole different level from the others. And that's why you see that they exhibit that kind of confidence, and they have good sense of how money is used and how money is understood. And so they are separate. They live different kind of life, and for me that's an advantage. Where you live life beyond just complaining. You don't live life thinking that somebody else is in charge of you, because you are not waiting for salary. If you don't go, the month will come and you will not get paid. And so you don't get to blame another person for not paying you your salary, or for you working so hard and they are not recognizing it. The entrepreneur does not have that kind of problem. Not at all. You are not complaining that they're not going. If you don't move, the salary will not come. So you will move, and nobody is responsible for that. You are not trying to complain to another person. No, you move. You are always looking for solutions to the problems of the business, to the problems of society. And that process itself makes you very much effective. It makes you very much you feel like you're contributing. And the best thing of it that I like is that there's no end of it. Until you drop dead, you can do business all your life if you want. You have business people who are 80 years still sitting on the board of their business that they started when they were 20 years. and nobody can stop them. And they are thinking of the next project. They are looking at building the next bigger office, the next. They are moving to the next country. And that is entrepreneurship, and that is a life that very few people get to taste. So it's an advantage if you start a business. You see that these things, your conversations change. Your conversations change, and they change big time. They change big time because you look at life differently, and there's so much advantage in that. You are hardly understood by those who are not playing in that game, who are not playing that game, which is entrepreneurship. You are not really understood. So you can start and own as many businesses as you want, and that's an advantage. There's no limit. You can register as many businesses so far as you do them well and you're successful and you understand what you're doing. There's no limit, and you become good steward of time and resources that life has, because you convert the time that you have always. And so there are a lot of advantages in being an entrepreneur. There's a lot. And so if you start a business, don't let anybody else talk you out. There's a lot. They only don't know it because a lot of them have never experienced it. So they only hear on the difficult side. And of course, when you start, it's not that glamorous, so to say, at the beginning. It's a bit more challenging. You may put in more than what you expected. And when you expected to get rich, maybe if you expected to get rich in 5 years, maybe to go to 20, 15 years kind of thing. But in between, it's still very fulfilling option of life. It's very much, and it's open to everybody. That's the thing about it. Anybody at all can decide today that I want to be an entrepreneur and I want to learn. I want to register a business. This is the kind of things that I want to do. And nobody can stop you. The fact that you're a human being, you can start a business. You can become an entrepreneur. But if I want to become a doctor, they will not allow me. I have to go to medical school, pass all the exams. If I want to become a lawyer, they will not allow me. I have to go to school, study, and sometimes not pay school fees, all that. If I want to become a police officer, they have to, write application, get interviewed. Sometimes they will say your height is, you are not in the height. Sometimes they say that you have bleach. Sometimes they say that you have stretch mark, so they will not accept you. Those kind of nonsense, Or sometimes they say that your nose is too big, your mouth is too big, you are not beautiful. For instance, if you want to become Miss Ghana, there's a certain height they look for, there's a certain size they look for. Entrepreneurship is not like that. Anybody at all is open to come. So it's one of the best things that anybody can do. Anybody at all can become an entrepreneur. There's no hindrance. It just calls for a heart to learn, a heart to prove something of yourself, a heart to make contribution to life. That's all it takes. Ambition, the ability to learn, ability to go, ability to understand the numbers, the finances. That's all it takes. So, and it's such an advantage. I mean, you don't need anybody to prevent you from becoming what you want to become. But in this life, if you want to become anything apart from being an entrepreneur, everywhere that you want to go, they will ask you. If you want to become a chief in your village, they will ask you, do you come from the royal family? If I want to become an engineer, they say that you have to go to university, do this kind of courses, make sure you pass before you become an engineer. And if you want to become a certified engineer, you have to write exams. Pharmacies, say. Almost everything. There are a lot of barriers that they place in this life for people. But entrepreneurship is open. Nobody puts anything. At least for now, nobody has put anything anywhere. So anybody at all can become an entrepreneur. Now the separating factor is your commitment to learning and you getting productive and getting results. And so it's very fantastic. Very fantastic area that you can realize your dream easily. And nobody controls you, nobody controls your time, you control your time, and that's why and nobody pays you to work to pay yourself. So if you fail, you eat. So you offer services to the country, you become happy that if you're a farmer and you're producing tomato, you're making contribution to the country. And you have to employ 3-4 laborers or helpers to get you, that you're making a contribution to the country. It's that much fulfilling. You know that you are living a fulfilling life, so to say. A lot of business people I think, are very much happy with the lives, especially the entrepreneurs. They're very much happy with the life that they live, in spite of all the troubles that they get to go through, and they control their choices. You see, nobody prevents you from entering. There's no criteria, or there are no criteria for you to become an entrepreneur. And then you get to control your choices, so your time, your decisions. And you just have to have the independence to live the life you want. And that's why when the problems come, they come at you, because nobody controlled you. And so it's a good thing for you to know that you're responsible for the life that you live and the results that you get. And for me, that is very much important. And you get to build your confidence in life. You get to build your confidence, and the more you become successful, the more you try to find yourself, so to say. And it's one of the best ways to find yourself, your talent, your purpose, entrepreneurship. And nobody can predict the amount of money you can make in a lifetime. Nobody can predict your influence. Nobody can predict the network that you can build. The business could be struggling today, and the next 2 years you see that another idea comes up and you are somewhere else. And the business and entrepreneurship, one of the other advantages is that you get to generate ideas all the time. You're generating ideas all the time. You're very creative, and you become systemic in thinking. You become critical in thinking, very analytical in thinking, because of the you're always planning, thinking, planning, coming up with the next deal. You're always dreaming, and that's entrepreneurship. And that's why they don't get tired. Even at the last end of their life, you see them, they are still thinking. That is entrepreneurship. They are thinking of the next product, the next service, the next person they have to employ, where they have to move the business, the finance that is not working, the essence of the revenue. They are thinking all the time. And so it's a very good thing, and there's a lot of advantages in that. When you get to use your brain, you get to solve problems. A lot of people don't think. They only think of the defined things that you have given them. So they cannot think beyond the structure that you have given them. But entrepreneur, you cannot think within the structure. You think outside the structure to solve problems all the time. And that's why you're the one promoting the business and leading the business. And so that's it. And you get to have a good financial understanding. Even when you start and you didn't get it, at a point nobody will tell you. The problems will come so much that you quickly learn what it means to manage money, manage people, manage processes, manage systems, manage everything that your business is doing. So you are always in constant learning, and it's one of the best things that you can do. And nobody controls how many businesses that you can own. It's life. And you see, if you're successful, the country or the community will see you. You get to benefit from that as well. And whatever business that you build, you have the opportunity to bequeath it, to give it to whoever you want, whether it's your children, your family, whoever. And the worth of it you control. And so it's very much advantageous than a lot of things that the world offers. And so there's nobody in this life who is disadvantaged so far as entrepreneurship is concerned. Anybody at all can jump into it and just stay with the process to a certain level that you get to understand what you're doing. And once you understand what you're doing, you will by all means succeed. And because there are no criteria, there are no entry requirements, that's why the failure rate is very also high. And so once you enter, you understand that this thing, nobody qualified me because before I entered. Therefore, I'm going to qualify myself. And so if he fails, you build another one. If you fail, you build another one. And that is an advantage, because some places when you fail one, they'll fire you. You will never come again. But in entrepreneurship, nobody fires you if you fail. You try another one. And that is a good advantage. If the business fails, you go to business B. If business B fails, you keep going until you become perfect, until your craft is perfect, until you understand the environment that you're operating. And that is something that entrepreneurship offers. And so in areas that when you fail one, they sack you, they don't want to see you again. In entrepreneurship, nobody will sack you. It's the pain that will teach you the lesson, is the losses. But nobody will sack you. Whether you're a male or female, nobody really can sack you, and nobody can tell you that you can start a company and build your company because you are small, or because you're from this part of the country, or because you're too dark or too fair, or those things, or you have one eye or two eyes, or you have one hand or two hands. Nobody cares. Or you don't have leg at all. Nobody cares. Entrepreneurship is not open to everybody. Open. So far as you can think, you can be ambitious, and that's an advantage. So nobody prevents you. Nobody can prevent you, and that is an advantage of you being an entrepreneur. So which means that essential, you are the one who can put essential on yourself. Nobody can really put any essential on you, and that is very good. That is very good, and that's why you say that you don't have any job. Entrepreneurship is waiting for you. It's open. Nobody can prevent you. Whether you pass the exam or you didn't pass the exam, whether you finish school or you didn't finish school, whether you went to Kubasi Secondary School or you went to Pokwari Secondary School, it doesn't matter. It's open to everybody. So the way we judge is by productivity, by relevance, by contribution. So the effects that you're making in the money, in the people's life, the contribution that you're making to society, how much revenue that you can use to judge yourself. And usually one of the things that you also get to do away with is that you don't become so much competitive with the individual, with family, people, with friends, because your mind is always consumed with a lot of things that are coming at you in you building your business. So you don't have time for pettiness actually, and you become very much productive. You become very much productive if you get to be an entrepreneur, because you're always much conscious of where the time is going and which time is not going. You are conscious of that which you want to achieve. You have set something to do with the business, and that is what is really channeling everything that you do. And so when people have time for fun, usually you don't even have time for fun. But once in a while you may. So the advantage is that entrepreneurship, or you being an entrepreneur, you have. Let's go through once again, is that there is no entry point. There's no qualification. Anybody at all can become an entrepreneur, and that's good. And that's why the failure rate is very high. But that's why you also have, because when you fail, nobody can sack you. If you go to the nursing college and you fail 10 times, maybe they will say, no, don't come again, go and try another thing. Or when you go to do the engineering and you fail again, they will sack you from the school. But in entrepreneurship, nobody will sack you. And nobody requires any qualification. You cannot write, you can still do it. You can write, you can still do it. So it's open. It's very level ground for everybody. You can be a male, female, you can be a doctor, a nurse, you can be a cocoa farmer, you can be anything and still be an entrepreneur, and it's open to everybody. And there is no segregation as to who can become a business person, business owner. And the other thing is that it's very fulfilling when you live, because it's one of the best ways that people try to find the meaning out of life and how they live their life. Is one of it. It's very fulfilling. You get the sense that you're also making contribution with your life, and that is one of the topmost needs of people, that what they are doing is relevant. And you can imagine a boy who had nothing, who had no family, no father, and he starts to start a business. He gets to start a business, and the next minute that business is on the radio, that business is employing people. It's that fulfilling for him, because usually he was not even sure what he could become. So entrepreneurship gives people that kind of thing, and you express your talent, you express yourself, and you tend to control. You should know, in terms of choices of life and your time and your money, you tend to control a bit of it. You can decide where you work from every time. You can decide where to work and what not to where to work. It's your choice, because it's a life of independence. It's of flexibility. And that's why most people who are regimented find it difficult to become entrepreneurs, at least from the beginning. So it's a fulfilling life. There is no limit to what opportunities that you can create. Nobody can tag you as to what amount of money that you can be worth in the next 5 years or 20 years. Nobody knows, because it's an open field. You can own as many businesses as you want. You can own as much wealth as you want. It's open, especially when you find the right thing that you're doing, and when you understand what you're doing, and when you get skilled. Nobody can tag you. Nobody can place a limit as to what an entrepreneur can become. And the best thing, one of the best things, is that nobody can also force you into retirement. If I go to work with the government, I'm 60 years, I may have to change the date again, or they say that go home. And usually 60 years, you still have maybe 30 years more to live, and they still say that go home. It's one of the things that I don't understand. When the president can be 73 years and he becomes a president, and you work and you're 60 years or 65 and they say go home, I don't understand. I don't understand. But if you're an entrepreneur, nobody pushes you to go to retire. That's why you can see some business people, they are 70 years and they are thinking of the next business to start. Why? Because there's no limit. Nobody, you don't go on retirement. So long as you have energy, you are healthy, nobody can control your time. Nobody can tell you to retire. That is an advantage. And the other thing is that that critical thinking. Entrepreneurs are critical in thinking, they are very analytical, and they are systemic in thinking, because that is what the field really needs. You just think in order, and you cannot think within the system. You think over the system, you think outside it, and that's entrepreneurship. If they define, you cannot deal with the pressure that comes with it. So entrepreneurship gets people to think analytically, and it gives you constant opportunity to become a student of life. You are always learning, because there are so many things that you have to know. You cannot be lazy. For instance, if I'm a doctor, I just have to study this. If I'm a lawyer, I just have to study the processes. But if I build a law firm and I become an entrepreneur, I cannot just run a law firm because I know law. No. Now you have to learn almost everything. You learn finances, you learn the human resource, you learn the systems, you have to learn the taxes, it's a constant process of learning. So it's beyond. If I know how to build an engineer, it's different from me building a construction company. What it costs for me to handle a construction company is more than just one bit of technical understanding of how a building is made. So I can understand the drawings and everything and pick a project from ground up. That is one side, usually just of the skill that you need to build a business to become an entrepreneur. To become an entrepreneur, you need the dreaming, you need the people skill, finances. You have to be robust to withstand the pressure and the difficulties that come up, and it's entirely different from the other side. So and because it's multifaceted, that's why you get the opportunity to learn almost everything. You are always in constant learning, and for me that is an advantage. It makes you lively, it makes life very enjoyable, very satisfying, because you are always discovering something. Life is never boring for the entrepreneur, because it's something that he's always doing all the time. And the other thing I can say is that nobody can control how many businesses that you own. It's your call, it's your choice. If that one didn't work, you can open another one, and if 20 of them are working, you can still open. The laws are open to anybody who gets to understand how to build businesses, and that is an advantage. So thank you very much for watching. My name is Kwabena Content Network. Was not good, but let's see. So I've talked about some of the advantages of being an entrepreneur, and in summary, I said that it's open field. Nobody can control the entry or the exit of it. Is your call. And the other thing is that nobody can throw you out from it, and it's very fulfilling. You get to have independence in thinking, in managing your time. You decide where to work from, where to work. These are good side of it. There are a lot of other pressure that comes with it, but at least the good side is an advantage, that you understand the world from the point of view how the world really runs in terms of commerce and money. And nobody can control any limit as to how much wealth you can create if you get to understand what you're doing. And so until you get to that level, you cannot quit, and there's no retirement for you. And nobody can control how many businesses that you build, and whatever shares that you have in the company or the ownership, you can easily and always let you decide who owns that when you are about to leave here. So these are all advantages, and it's very much fulfilling in spite of all the troubles. So when you hear them talk about all the negatives of entrepreneurship and the difficulties and the failures and the mistakes, those are real. But the other thing is that is also a whole different lifestyle, whole different. Life is never boring. You either celebrating the victory or you looking at the pain. You know, there's always some bit of something that you are dealing with all the time, and every day can be enjoyable, and that's entrepreneurship. And most entrepreneurs really live their dreams. Most entrepreneurs don't feel like somebody is telling them to become entrepreneurs. I've not met any entrepreneurs, so to say, who felt like the parents forced him to become one. But the parents can force you to become a doctor, a lawyer, a nurse, engineer. Parents can force you to become a lot of things, but most parents never force anybody to become an entrepreneur. So most entrepreneurs are living the life that they really wanted to live, and that makes life very fulfilling. You know, so thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you.